Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Today, we're tackling something that I think a lot of us are interested in, expanding our vocabularies.
Oh, yeah. Words. Glorious words, right.
You got it. We're looking at Module 3, vocabulary building, and I gotta say, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, it's more than just memorizing definitions, that's for sure.
The module keeps mentioning this three-step process:
Hmm.
learning, understanding, then practicing.
Hmm. Learning, understanding, practicing. Makes sense. But what does that actually look like?
Exactly. So let's start with learning. How do we even begin to learn new words effectively?
Well, the first thing is we got to gather those words, right? Like, think of it as collecting building blocks.
Building blocks. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, you can't build a house without bricks, and you can't communicate effectively without words.
So how do we get those bricks? What are some good ways to actually learn new words?
I mean, there are so many techniques out there. Flashcards are classic.
Yeah, flashcards, those take me back.
Right. But now there are tons of vocabulary apps too, and honestly, even just making good old-fashioned lists can be super helpful.
So true. But just having a list of words doesn't necessarily mean we understand them, does it?
Definitely not. That's where understanding comes in.
Mm.
It's the difference between knowing the names of tools in a toolbox and knowing how to actually use them.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Mm.
So are you saying just looking up a word in a dictionary isn't enough?
It's a good starting point for sure. Dictionaries give you that foundational definition, but they don't always tell the whole story.
The whole story.
Yeah, like think about it. Sometimes a word can have multiple meanings, depending on the context.
Hmm.
And then there are subtle shades of meaning, too. Plus, how a word interacts with other words in a sentence. That can totally change how you understand it.
So context really is king, huh?
It really is. You know, seeing a word used in a novel, a news article, or even just hearing it in a conversation, that's what really helps it click.
I'm totally with you there. It's funny, I was just thinking about some words that I thought I knew, but now I realize I only had a surface level understanding.
We've all been there, honestly, and that's where the third step comes in, that practicing part.
Okay, so we've got our words, we're starting to understand them, but now we gotta actually use them, right?
Yep, got to take them for a spin. The module talks about writing and speaking as key ways to practice.
Right. Any tips for making that practice really stick? Like, what should we actually be doing?
Well, for writing, one thing that's helped me is to focus on using new words in different settings, you know? Don't just jot them down in a journal. Try working them into emails, blog posts, even social media captions.
Interesting. Keep it fresh.
Exactly. And I think the same principle applies to speaking. You got to be brave and actually use those words out loud, even if it feels a little awkward at first.
So true. I know I'm guilty of sticking with my comfort zone when it comes to vocabulary.
But stepping outside that comfort zone is where the real growth happens, right?
Absolutely. And hey, I bet the more we practice, the more we'll start noticing these words pop up everywhere.
I think you're right. It's like a whole new world opens up. Suddenly you're picking up on these subtle word choices in books, movies, even casual conversations.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it. It reminds me of that saying, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world.
Oh, I love that quote.
It really makes you realize that the more words we have in our arsenal, the bigger and richer our world becomes.
Couldn't agree more. It's an ongoing journey of discovery, and I think that's what makes it so exciting. There's always more to learn, you know?
So to recap our deep dive today, it sounds like building a killer vocabulary is way more than just memorizing a bunch of definitions. It's about really understanding the nuances of words, using them in different ways, and always being open to learning even more.
Well put. It's about becoming a lifelong student of language. And honestly, I can't think of a better way to expand your mind and connect with the world around you.
This has been great. Thanks for joining me today. And to all of you listening, start paying attention to the words around you. You might be surprised by what you discover. Until next time.